Hey everybody, welcome to Eagles Game Plan presented by Toyota. I am John Clark, and the Eagles are still looking for their first win at home this year. They're winless in their first 2 home games for the first time in 7 years, but they're getting some fans back. Maybe that should help this week. And how about the great story of 2020, Travis Fulgham, off the practice squad. It's great to see what he's doing. He's developed a rapport with Carson Wentz so quickly. Let's talk to his receivers coach, Aaron Moorehead. He's doing some tape study here with our own Fran Duffy. Here it is, presented by Chickies and Pete's. You gotta know when to Fulgham.
Well, joining us this week here on Tape Study, presented by Chickies and Pete's, Eagles wide receivers coach Aaron Moorehead. Coach, thanks for joining us here on the show.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
So let's talk about Travis Fulgham. He is the hot name right now in the city of Philadelphia. He joins the squad a week or so, a few days into training camp. Interested to see, like, what's it like trying to get a guy kind of up to speed? It was a different offseason this year, but when you have a guy kind of join the team midway through camp, what is that like? And how quickly did you realize, like, this is a guy that can make some plays for us?
Yeah, it was tough. I mean, you're really a couple weeks into camp. You've already kind of started moving the pieces around and kind of seeing where you think guys are going to fit. And all of a sudden, this guy shows up. And after a few kind of early reps, you're thinking this guy's pretty good and he's sharp. He's picking up the offense pretty quickly. And then all of a sudden, he makes a play. Then all of a sudden, he makes another one. And then he's making another one. And we're doing different looks for the defense. And he's kind of running those scout team type reps. And he's really doing a good job. And you start to take notice quickly. You know, we knew pretty early on he was a guy that we wanted to keep around here and see where it would go. And you keep looking up through the first few weeks of the season. And he's over there on scout team. He's taking every rep. He's not coming out. He's not complaining, and he's just catching everything thrown to him. And it actually, as a coach, made me want to sit over there and watch the defensive scout periods to watch him because of how well he was playing, him and Deontay Burnett. I mean, they were fun to watch over there. So I went over there and would watch those guys. And, you know, honestly, I think we got a really good steal in Travis and can't wait to see him continue to grow.
Yeah, obviously, they've been one of the bright stories for this Eagles offense through the first few games of the season. And just kind of want to dive into the film from last week against Pittsburgh. And obviously, he had a bunch of catches. This one really stood out to me because, you know, one of the staples of Doug Peterson since he's been here in Philadelphia is a play that we like to call on this show the 3-level stretch, where you've got a guy working vertically, another receiver in the intermediate area, and then a receiver in the flat. The way that you guys were able to kind of dress this up and get to it differently, I thought was really cool. If you could just kind of take us through it.
Yeah, I mean, it was just something that we've done. We've run some of these insert blocking plays where the receiver has to go into the backside and insert and potentially block a safety over there if he's in a tough situation, or even a linebacker. So it was just something that we put Travis in a spot where he's done that before. He's inserted and had to block those guys. Him and JJ have been our 2 bigger frame guys that have been that blocking receiver. And so we put him right in that spot and really just put him in a situation, run a play action pass off of a run that we've done in the past and get essentially the same look of just a guy over the top running a post, a guy out in kind of the 15-yard intermediate range, and then somebody coming late into the flat. So it's really a different way to dress up something we do a lot. And then a great job by Travis of getting some extra yards after the catch and not getting tackled by the first guy.
So we saw Travis Fulgham catch a touchdown down in the red zone. We also saw Greg Ward catch one down in the red zone as well.
Well, you know, it's another play where you've got a potential man beater over here to the 2 receiver side. They came in and brought the corner over. So right when they bring the corner over, as you know, 9 times out of 10, that means it's man coverage. So Carson probably realized that pretty quickly. He knew that's probably where he was going to go. The cool thing about this play when you see it is Carson knew they had one more guy coming that we could protect. And so he gave Greg a chance with the football by lofting it up in the air to come down underneath it and run underneath it, because he knew he was going to take a shot right here. So he gave Greg the opportunity to run underneath the football. Greg did a good job of pressing right at Hayden right there and not just running straight to the sideline, of really pressing him vertical and looking at him. Look and see Greg's eyes looking at Hayden, right in his eyes. Hayden doesn't know. Is he going to the post? Is he going underneath me? Where's he going? No, we're going to break out. And now we run underneath the football. Great throw, great catch, and 6 points for the good guys.
And let's get to the longest play from scrimmage for the Eagles. This was a run play, a 74-yard touchdown from running back Miles Sanders on 3rd and long. Take us through this and really the impact the receivers had on this play as well.
Well, you look up, and we're just going to run a draw. It's 3rd and 8. We're trying to see if we can get something going. We had gone 3 and out the first 2 drives, trying to see if we could pop something right here. They got an all-out pressure coming, and Miles does a great job of making the first guy miss. And on the perimeter, you can see right there, Miles makes that guy miss. Travis has got his guy pinned right in the middle of the field, so that guy can't come make the play. And Greg and JJ are running their guys 30 yards down the field. That's something we practice. That's something we talk about. If the DBs are going to run with you, keep on running them down the field. And as soon as Miles made that first guy miss, we knew all we had to do was finish our blocks on the perimeter, and we have a chance at a touchdown. Greg, I mean, it's unbelievable. Moving his feet, driving, right? Running all the way through the guy, JJ, out here. I mean, he's running his feet through this guy. He's not stopping. And then the last little piece right there of JJ pushing his guy down, Miles giving him a stiff arm. An unbelievable run by Miles with some good blocks on the perimeter.
Eagles Game Plan is brought to you by your local Tri-State Toyota dealers, proud automotive partner of the Philadelphia Eagles. NovaCare Rehabilitation, the power of physical therapy. Pepsi, your new official soft drink of your Philadelphia Eagles. And by the Pennsylvania Lottery. Pick up your Eagles Fast Play ticket today. Hey everybody, welcome back to Eagles Game Plan presented by Toyota. And the Eagles defense is coming off their worst performance of the year. They gave up a season worst 38 points to the Steelers. And on third down, Ben Roethlisberger was perfect. 13 for 13, over 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. So Mike Quick, how can the Eagles defense start to get better here with situational football?
Well, John, historically, during the Jim Schwartz era, they've been a pretty good situational team. In the red zone, they've been good. In third downs, they've been good. But the Steelers, when they ran those bunch sets, they were really good at it. Getting the first 2 receivers down the field and pretty much clearing space for that third guy to come in on the slant. They did that over and over, and they just had a really good game plan for third downs and had a lot of success with it.
And the Ravens run a lot of pre-snap motion, a lot of it. So Eagles defense is going to have to play responsibility football, right, Ike Reese? I mean, how can they improve with those receiver runs to the perimeter that they continue to get burned on?
Yeah, I think the biggest issue right now, John and Mike, is the pre-snap recognition and having good pre-snap communication amongst that back 7. And there's going to be times where you may have to alert the defensive ends as to what the formation looks like and just give them a little heads up that there may be one of these wide receiver reverses or runs. But it's going to be difficult for the DNs to recognize that immediately, and that's why the guys on the back end have to be aware of the formations and the tendencies in which these runs are coming out of. Listen, Baltimore last week, they ran a receiver rush with Devin Duvernay, who's a track star, and this is a copycat league. This started back in the game against the Rams when Robert Woods scored a rushing touchdown, and this pretty much happened once a week. Until the Eagles defense show that they can stop this play, you're going to continue to see it.
Yeah, and they're going to be facing one of those dynamic quarterbacks in Lamar Jackson. We know all about that here in Philadelphia. Randall Cunningham, the ultimate weapon. Here's a little enemy intel with Greg Cosell.
This week, the Philadelphia Eagles will play one of the most fascinating offenses in the NFL, the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens are an offense that's different from every other offense the Eagles defense will face, because it's really an offense that's built on Lamar Jackson as a runner, not as a passer. Everything they do works off the run game, and of course Lamar Jackson is a critical component of that run game. It starts with him and how you have to defend him within the context of the run game. But what they do is they take basic core principles of the run game, like gap scheme, like sweep, and they work them in ways that are very creative and very difficult to defend. Now, we saw a perfect example of that 2 weeks ago against the Washington football team. What you're going to see here is Lamar Jackson in the shotgun. J.K. Dobbins is the back on this play. He's to the left of Jackson. This really is quarterback power. So you're going to see the double team down block front side. You're going to see the left guard Bradley Bozeman pull around. That's a power run, a gap scheme power run. Every team has that in its playbook. But there's also a zone read element to this in the backfield, and that eats up the defensive end, who is unblocked on the play. He's the unblocked defender, and he charges hard. He crashes into the backfield. But the sweep element to this, beyond the power gap scheme element, is so important, because look what happens when Jackson fakes the ball to Dobbins on what looks like a sweep. You get the play side stacked linebacker. Again, he's not blocked. He's influenced by the backfield action, and he takes himself out of the play. And then when all's said and done, it becomes a gap scheme power run for Lamar Jackson. Great block by Orlando Brown working up to the second level and getting the backside stack backer. Every other defender is taken care of. Bozeman works up to the post safety, who's the alley defender. This is what the Ravens present with their run game that starts with Lamar Jackson, and he's explosive. This is a 50-yard touchdown, not a 10-yard gain. So that is really, really important for the Eagles defense, to play properly with your eyes. You can't overreact. Now that's difficult. It's much easier said than done. But that's the challenge that the Philadelphia Eagles defense faces against Lamar Jackson and the most creative run game in the NFL.
All right, you heard Greg Cosell on the MVP of the NFL last year, Lamar Jackson. Now, he's not as good this year, but he still has the second most rushing yards of any quarterback in the NFL. Such a dual threat. So, Ike Reese, how would you defend him? Would you blitz or would you try to contain him?
Well, I think, John, you got to do a little bit of both. There's no sense of dying a slow death when you're facing a guy like Lamar Jackson or Kyler Murray like they're going to face later this year. You want to make these guys make quick decisions. So in my opinion, you got to heat him up, send extra pressure, make him think on his feet. And then there's going to be times where you got to sit back and give him a different look, and you're going to have to try to contain him with the entire defense being able to keep their eyes on him. So you want to give him a mixture of both. You certainly don't want him to sit back there and let him dictate to you what he's going to do. So I would have to bring a little bit of pressure on him.
Yeah, it's actually interesting that Carson Wentz has more rushing touchdowns than Lamar Jackson this year. But, Ike Reese, is there a player that you had to defend in your career that kind of reminds you of Lamar Jackson?
Oh, no doubt about it. You're talking about Michael Vick. We all know him very well here in Philadelphia as a former Eagle and as one of our former opponents that we faced plenty of times. And Jim Johnson, his philosophy when facing Michael Vick in that offense, he wanted to attack his throwing arm. So with Michael, it would have been his left side to try to force him to run. With Lamar Jackson, I would want to attack that right arm of his. And here's an example. You watch a couple weeks ago against San Francisco, you're going to see Jim Schwartz dials up a blitz with Craydon LeBlanc going through the B gap and Nate Gary going through that A gap. They are going after Nick Mullins' throwing arm, not giving him an escape route to his throwing side. And the reason why that's important is because quarterbacks are more apt to throw the ball if they can escape to their throwing hand. But if you force them to go to their non-throwing hand, they're going to want to run the ball more. So the coaching point there is you got to get that defensive end, like you see here with Malik Jackson. He needs to be a little wider here so he doesn't allow an escape out the back door for the quarterback. Nick Mullins, not as much of a threat as a runner, but when you're going against Lamar Jackson, you're going to want to get wide, force him to where your help is, and you'll have a better chance of containing some of those big runs.
All right, welcome back, and let's talk about Travis Fulgham again. 10 catches, 152 yards against the Steelers. I know Ike and Mike, you really love seeing that. Mike Quick, you've had guys say in practice he catches everything. He doesn't drop balls. What has impressed you the most about Travis Fulgham?
Hey, let's start with that. He catches everything. When you're a wide receiver, let's just take it to the basics. You want to catch the football. He's really good at high pointing the ball, and in those areas where there's tight coverage, he fights for the ball. And at the point of contact with the football, he pulls the football away. That's what impresses me. He runs nice routes. He blocks down the field. He understands zone defense. He understands man defense and when you have to make a move and run away from a guy. But most importantly, Ike, he catches the football.
Mike just talked about Travis Fulgham as a wide receiver. Well, the biggest thing I noticed last week with he and Carson is that Carson didn't have to be pinpoint accurate with his passes. Fulgham was able to go up and make plays. The catch radius on that kid certainly helps the quarterback with his confidence. He's inching ever closer to being the guy that we saw a few years ago.
Yeah, he's really getting in sync with the young receivers. It'll be interesting to see how they get the veterans Deshaun Jackson and Alshon Jeffrey back into the offense. But a huge test against the Ravens defense this Sunday for Carson. Here's enemy intel with Greg Cosell.
The Philadelphia Eagles offense, coming off its best performance of the season against a very difficult Steelers defense, now gets another tough challenge in the Baltimore Ravens defense. And the Baltimore Ravens may be even more multidimensional than the Steelers with what they do with their front looks and their coverage rotation. It's very difficult to decipher both from a protection standpoint and from a reading coverage standpoint. So the challenge will be on both Carson Wentz and the offensive line. And it's a tough challenge, make no mistake about it. And there are so many examples through these first 5 games when you put on the Ravens defense. They're among the league leaders in sacks. They're among the league leaders in third down defense. It's just really difficult to decipher a lot of the things they do. Here's a play from last week against the Cincinnati Bengals that speaks to a lot of these points. First of all, start with the pressure look. There's really 7 defenders up at the line of scrimmage who could come. Now, all 7 obviously are not going to rush the quarterback. But when you set your protection, you do not know which defenders will come. They could rush 3, they could rush 4, they could rush 5, they could go 0 and rush 6. You don't know that. But you have to set your protection before the ball snapped. And protection rules don't change in the middle of a play. So now here's what happens on this play. You're going to see Chuck Clark, who's up at the line of scrimmage. He's a safety, number 36. He's actually going to rotate out and become the deep post safety on this play. The 2 A-gap defenders are Tyus Bowser and Matt Judon. They're right in the A-gap, so you must account for them. They're the closest to the quarterback. They will also drop out. So what will happen, from inside the formation, you will just get 3 rushers. Now 2 more will come, one from the top of the screen on the outside, but the other, the one that's really difficult to recognize pre-snap, is the slot corner Marlon Humphrey. He's coming from distance. Now the protection does not account for him. So that becomes on Joe Burrow, the quarterback, to recognize that and get rid of the football. But as I said, this is really difficult from both a protection standpoint and a quarterback recognition standpoint. And Humphrey will get in clean off the slot and he will sack Joe Burrow. This is a tough defense all around. So this is a significant challenge for the Eagles offense.
Greg Cassell breaking down that Ravens defense. They look scary. And Mike Quick, Carson Wentz has been sacked the 2nd most times in the NFL this year. And you're talking about a Ravens defense. They're going to blitz 1/3 of the time. They're going to bring it. They're going to have a lot of different looks. How much of a challenge do you think this is going to be for Carson?
Oh, it's a huge challenge for this offense. And Greg really broke it down real well. They're going to bring a lot of pressure from a lot of different areas, and it's going to be up to Carson to understand where the pressure is coming from and make really good decisions with the football, John. Here's a perfect example. If you watch Carson in this play, he understands right away that the pressure is going to come off of his left side, and he's got to make a quick decision to get rid of the football. And right away, you see Miles Sanders slip out into the flat, just outflanks the defenders, and Carson drops the football down to him. They're going to get that type of pressure. They're going to have to make good decisions, and everyone's going to have to be on the same page, realizing what they're trying to do on the other side and having a counter move for what they're doing and the way they're attacking.
Welcome back to Eagles Game Plan presented by Toyota. We laid it out for you. The Eagles are going to have to slow down that Ravens rushing attack and Lamar Jackson. And the Eagles offense, they're going to have to protect Carson Wentz. The Ravens have the 3rd most quarterback hits, and they're giving up the fewest points per game in the entire NFL. It is going to be a tough one for the Birds. Check out our Eagles kickoff show on PhiladelphiaEagles.com. That is 12:15. And enjoy the game, everybody. Thanks for watching Eagles Game Plan presented by Toyota. Eagles Game Plan is brought to you by your local Tri-State Toyota dealers, proud automotive partner of the Philadelphia Eagles. NovaCare Rehabilitation, the power of physical therapy. Pepsi, your new official soft drink of your Philadelphia Eagles. And by the Pennsylvania Lottery. Pick up your Eagles Fast Play ticket today.